Kenny Wayne Shepard is one of the most successful blues rock guitarists and songwriters in the world. But it's his devotion to the tradition of the music that he loves that animates his work. We'll talk about the power of tradition in all of our work. And did you hear about, well, she's being called the Phillies Karen. I'll explain on this edition of Arroyo Grande. Come on. I'm Raymond Arroyo. Welcome to Arroyo Grande. Go subscribe to the show right now. Turn those notifications on so you know what's coming. Oh, we've got some big legendary guests coming. Before we go to Kenny Wayne Shepard, let's check out the culture counter. Up first, a new study released this week claims that LSD reduces anxiety, at least in those tested. It should come as no surprise that this study was sponsored by the drug company MindMed, who is interested in bringing the banned substance to market. We have a country full of potheads. Why not hallucinating zombies? So think about this rationally for a moment. Junior is suffering from anxiety over exams, let's say, so his physician's going to give him a hallucinogenic drug. Can't wait to see what they prescribe to the kid who's too timid to date. Viagra, crack, and a weekend at an OnlyFans convention, I guess. It's anxiety, not polio. Does every human malady need a script and a copay? I think not. LSD's not exactly magnesium or B12. According to Frontiers in Psychiatry, LSD creates the mental effect of drug-induced psychosis. According to researchers, it causes distortions of time and identity, visual hallucinations, delusions, and a sense of euphoria. Next stop, Betty Ford Clinic. There's a reason LSD is an illegal substance. You know what the long-term effects are? Persistent psychosis, prolonged visual disturbances, mood swings, and paranoia. But look at the bright side. You're ready for a rubber room, but at least your anxiety's gone. Drug manufacturers have been trying to legitimize these hallucinogenics for a long time. Last year, drug manufacturers submitted a study to the government purporting to show how the drug ecstasy, aka Molly, the party drug, can treat PTSD. The FDA rejected their claims, citing flawed studies. Even the military now has gotten in on the act. Believe it or not, the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act actually turned our veterans into drug company guinea pigs. And guess who's paying for the clinical trials? You, the taxpayer. It authorized psychedelic therapy for any vet suffering from PTSD or brain injuries. That's right. Vets can receive magic mushrooms, ecstasy, and other psychedelics. Why would they authorize the use of these dangerous and banned drugs on our veterans? They need and deserve relief from their war wounds. But if a guy's suffering from PTSD and depression, why turn to a drug like ecstasy, whose psychological effects include anxiety and panic attacks, confusion, depression, paranoia, and sleep difficulties? Do better, Congress. And let's leave the widespread hallucinogenic drugs where they belong, in the 1960s and 70s. Up next, what is it about watching live sports that brings out the worst in adults? In recent days, we've seen some of the most childish behavior from grown-ass people. You saw this moment when a tennis player at the U.S. Open tried to give a child his cap, and this man ripped it out of his hands and shoved it in a bag. He later apologized, but only after he was publicly shamed on social media. Then this week, a father at a Phillies game picks up a ball which landed in the stands and gave it to his young son, Lincoln. Well, this woman, now affectionately known as Phillies Karen, screamed at the father until he forfeited his son's ball to her. Does this woman go out on the street stealing kids' candy at Halloween? You've heard of the Phantom of the Opera? She's the Krampus of the ball field. Grow up, lady. What are you going to do with a baseball? Toss it around the room at the rest home? Let the kid have a souvenir, for God's sake. The only good news is that both the tennis player and Harrison Bader, the Phillies star, made sure that their young fans got something more than a cap and a ball. But why are adults so poorly behaved at sporting events? Sports, if anything, exist to celebrate skill and dedication, sportsmanlike behavior, civility. What lessons are you moronic adults teaching the young people in the stands? Grab whatever you want. To hell with you, small fry, it's mine. When they grow up, they may turn the lesson back on you. Be careful. And it's not just kids these ignorant adults are stealing from. They're now targeting the players on the field. This man tried to steal something from tennis player Jannik Sinner's bag while he was signing autographs. Bear in mind, people in the lower levels of the U.S. Open are paying between $4,000 and $12,000 a seat for the semifinals. And they're trying to steal from the player's bag on the court? How stupid are you? It's like paying thousands of dollars to sit in the front row at a Taylor Swift concert and then trying to kidnap Taylor on your way out. Something's bringing out the worst in these adults. I think they should be all permanently banned from the stadiums or courts for unbecoming behavior. Where's my yellow flag? Finally, you probably read that Southwest Airlines is joining the other competitors, asking that plus-size travelers buy 2 seats when they book their flights. Well, not everyone's happy about the expansion of the seat policy.
Airlines want plus-size people to pay extra now? Like, hello, your tiny seats barely fit a chihuahua. Please drop your solutions below because there is no way I'm giving more money to this airline. I'm not paying for 2 tickets.
Well, you may have to. Here's why. It's just not fair to expect the person seated next to you to have to squeeze against the wall while you lift the armrest and spread, occupying half the seat they paid full price for. Most of the airlines now require that both armrests be down, and if you can't fit in that space, you have to buy a second seat. Look, I was on a flight the other night, and a flight steward said she couldn't pass down the aisle to deliver drinks because a man in the 3rd row was literally spilling out of his seat and blocking the aisle with his girth. It looked like something out of The Blob. It's a safety hazard and just not fair to the other customers. I know it's costly and embarrassing for some plus-size people, but it's the only way to distribute the very limited space on these airplanes. And by the way, I measured those seats the other night. You can fit a Chihuahua in them. Maybe an overfed Great Dane would be a problem, but the Chihuahua fits just fine. Now to our deep dive. Kenny Wayne Shepard is one of the most innovative blues and rock artists on the scene. He's won multiple awards, sells out arenas. But what's so interesting about Shepard, who was a child prodigy, as you'll see, is his devotion to the blues tradition that all of his work stands upon. He's taken great efforts from very early in his career to honor that blues heritage and extend it right up to his most recent album and tour. Here's my conversation with Kenny Wayne Shepard. One of the things that every time I look at your work, every time I listen to it, you can hear the past in it, the fullness of the legacy that you stand upon, and yet you carry it forward. Your newest project, Young Fashioned Ways, you're pairing with a 91-year-old Bobby Rush. You're touring with him. First of all, where did this project come from?
Well, so Bobby Rush, a little bit of backstory. Okay. Bobby Rush is 91 years old. He, as I like to refer to him, is he is a part of the generation that I refer to as the originators of blues music. You know, he goes back very close to the beginning at 91 years old.
Wow.
And so, you know, this man is somebody I've been aware of for a long time. I've seen him play before, more than once. And, you know, he's got his own thing going on, like 100%. And, you know, I'd never played music with him before until a couple of years ago. So I have a blues festival that we do on an annual basis called the Backroads Blues Festival. And we invited him to come be our special guest and sit in with our band. So we did about 3 or 4 songs, but I'm telling you, like from the first note, when he walked out, it was obvious to me that we had this chemistry, and chemistry is something that you cannot fake. Like, you can't manufacture that.
You are speaking my language. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. So it's true. Like, so you can get talented. You look at a football team, it's like, oh, or an all-star team.
Right.
And like, we're going to put this guy, or this girl, or whatever.
The highest rate.
And you think it's going to be amazing, and sometimes it just falls flat. Like, because the chemistry's not there.
Yep.
Doesn't mean they're not great on their own.
Right.
So when you realize that something like that exists, you have to seize on that. And so I noticed it, I recognized it, I think he did too. After the show, first thing I said when we walked off the stage was, I think we need to do an album together.
Did you do covers? What were you singing? What did you do that day?
That day, it was a couple of just standard blues songs.
Yeah.
He just got up like, Manish Boy, the Muddy Waters song. We did a Elmore James song,
Well, listen, I got to tell you, I listened to this album on the way over today. I've been listening to it all weekend. It is such a classic old school blues, and I love these. Somebody going out my back door. It's so. I mean, it's full. It's fun. It's earthy.
Yeah.
40 years difference separates the two of you.
Yeah.
What was that artistic chemistry like in studio?
Well, so for me, that's interesting because not everybody kind of has their own way of doing things.
Yeah.
And, he's a solo artist, I'm a solo artist.
Yeah.
So, sometimes people can be really set in their ways. And then when those two worlds collide, you never know what to expect. So this working together in the studio is a very intimate thing. So I wasn't sure how it was going to all go down. Actually, to be honest with you, when we walked in the door of the studio, neither one of us, especially not me, I had no idea. I didn't know one song we were going to record.
He just had lyrics.
Yeah, well, he had lyrics, but he didn't even tell me that. Like, I was texting him, and he would respond to me about other things, but I'd be like, hey, man, you want me to send you some lyrics, or you want me to send you some music to work on these songs before we get there? And he just didn't respond to any of that.
Why not?
I think it was part of his plan. Like, I think he did it on purpose, because the end result is that the album literally unfolded in front of us. Like, from moment to moment, it just organically, just naturally developed. So like, I walked in, I'm like, I don't know, I have no idea.
What are we doing here?
First time in my life, I didn't know a single song that was going to be on a record. And he walked in, he had a stack of papers like this thick, all lyrics that he had written, some many years ago, some just the other day. And I would just start playing something, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And then he'd go through his papers, and he'd pull one out, and he'd come over and stand over my shoulder and start singing in my ear. And he would sing the words, and I was just like, it was always the perfect thing for the song. So I'm like, let's cut it. So that's literally how the whole album came about.
How long did this take? What's this process like?
7 days. It was pretty quick. Now, just for the recording, then I had to go and I had to do some grunt work, as we say, and clean it all up and then mix it and master it.
Why 10 new songs instead of covers? No, I would imagine you would do covers.
Well, there's one cover song. Well, it's not actually a cover song. I've never done this before this album, but you can take an original song and then you can rewrite some of it, and then it becomes a collaboration between you and the original writer. So the title track, the album's called Young Fashioned Ways. There's an old Willie Dixon song Muddy Waters made famous called Young Fashioned Ways. Bobby adjusted it. I wrote completely new music for it. Bobby changed about half the lyrics, so then it became Young Ways, and it's a collaboration. So that's the only real cover.
Yeah, but that's kind of
to a degree.
It feels very new to me. I know that song doesn't sound like it at all. I mean, it's pretty different.
Exactly. And then there was 2 or maybe 3 songs that he had previously recorded on some of his previous albums, but I didn't know that, and he didn't tell me that. And I think that was actually really good, because if I knew that he had recorded those songs, as a producer, I would have gone and listened to those songs, and then that would have influenced how we would have played them in the studio. But instead, we approached them as if they were completely new songs, so they sound really different than his previous versions of those.
91-year-old Bobby Rush said he was so emotional he started crying during the sessions in Memphis. At what point were you aware that this was striking something deep in him?
Well, I think we had a moment, like we were probably 2/3 of the way through the recording, getting kind of in the home stretch, and he came up to me in the hallway, and our paths crossed, and he just started crying, and I hugged him, and he hugged me back, and it was tears of joy and gratitude, and I was so moved, because like I'm the one that feels like that I'm getting the great end of this deal, because like I'm making an authentic traditional blues record, which is the music that inspired me when I was a kid. Like I used to dream about, there's a Muddy Waters album called Hard Again, and it's Johnny Winter playing guitar, producing the record, and Muddy Waters is the featured artist. And that was my favorite blues album, and I used to just dream of like what that must have been like for like Johnny Winter to do that. And this was kind of like my Johnny Winter, Muddy Waters moment with Kenny Wayne and Bobby Rush. So I'm the one thinking like, this is so amazing for me. And then he just breaks down in tears and says, you know, how amazing it is for him. And it was just, it's been incredible. And that really, like, our whole relationship from that experience moving forward has been like that. There's been a real bond.
Well, he said it was God that brought you all together.
I believe so.
Perfect. I mean, it sounds like you all were just winging this thing on inspiration and the whatever bubbled up in the moment, which is a risky way to go into a Memphis. Where did you do this?
So
Memphis,
it was Royal Studios in Memphis. So that's where all the original, like, the most famous music, I mean, a lot of famous music, but all the Al Green stuff from back in the day was recorded there. But it's a legendary studio, perfect place to do this record. Logistically, it was great because it was the halfway point between where Bobby lives and where I live, so we met in the middle. But yeah, the whole thing, we just kind of, I mean, honestly, everything I do, I believe that I'm not the driving force. I believe God is the driving force, and I just have to be the conduit. I got to be open enough to try. My part is to figure out, is to be able to keep my eyes open enough to know which direction to go, which direction he's leading me in, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I think Bobby feels the same way, but you know, going into this, I mean, I was out of my comfort zone. I'm like, what is going to happen here? I don't even know a single song we're going to record, but I had the faith. I mean, God's given us the ability. He's got his talent, I've got my talent. I know we both can bring that to the table. And then we just have faith in the process and take the music and everything, the inspiration where it leads us. And the end result, I think, is an incredible record.
And he also, because he'd played with you and had watched your career, and he talked about that. I've seen interviews where he's talked about that. He knew your veneration and respect of what went before.
Right.
And that, as I've had that experience with a lot of older artists, when I first interviewed Jerry Lewis, because I had such respect for what he did, there was an openness to working with me and talking, that he shared things that he'd never shared before.
Right.
Did you have that experience here?
Well, for me, it's like everything that I do is based on my childhood inspiration. It's all the music that I was exposed to. My dad was in radio.
I knew that, yeah.
So I grew up around music 24/7, went to every concert that came.
He was a concert promoter too in Shreveport.
Right. So all of that, I was soaking it up and absorbing it, and didn't know at the time that I was. But reflecting now, you go, oh, all of this led me to here. And all of that music that inspired me to go pick up the instrument, you know, the early blues music, and it was everything. It was blues, country, rock, jazz, funk, gospel, everything. But blues was what I gravitated towards when I got the guitar in my hands.
As a child, we're talking 3 years old.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got my first electric guitar after I met Stevie Ray Vaughan for the first time. Seeing him was life-changing.
Tell me what was that? Tell me what was that like? But you saw Muddy Waters live. I mean, you saw incredible people even as a little tot.
Yeah, and I do believe that was my first concert. My dad said he took me to see Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker when I was 3. Now, I don't remember the show, but I have to believe that left an imprint. And I do believe that that's what set me on the path of my love and appreciation for blues music. But seeing Stevie I was old enough for it to register. I was old enough I was just in awe of him because he channeled everything. It was like being a conduit, which is what I strive to be on stage. Like, what I saw in him was he played with this passion and this intensity that just came through him and went outward. And if you were receiving it, like, you couldn't help but feel it. And even at 7 years old, I was like, oh my gosh. And that's all I want to do, is I want to have that kind of energy and project that to people and affect them the way he affected me.
You know the B.B. King line about Stevie Ray Vaughan? That the blues is like being black twice. Stevie Ray missed on both counts, and I never noticed. It's a great line. It's a great line.
Yeah.
But I see this when I watch you play. It's almost like you're playing another language that I don't fully comprehend, but I know.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it's a strange thing to watch a musician kind of channel that instrument. It's almost, it's like a translator. It's like a translator device. And it's so powerful when you see it. So that's what Stevie Ray Vaughan, that's the imprint he left on you.
Absolutely. And that's what I try and leave on people when I play. That's the imprint I want to leave behind. And it's like you say, I mean, it's like speaking another language, but everybody says music is a universal language. And because I believe that when you tap into that place, it's so authentic and so pure. If you're playing straight from your heart. Now, not everybody does that. And that's, there's markets for all that other kind of music. But when that's your intention and you're really channeling from your heart outward, then that is something that everybody can identify with. It doesn't matter the words you're singing, and there's songs like that we do that are instrumental that have no words, and it moves people to tears. And like, that's the power of music. And so you are, when you're communicating on that level, all the barriers have been put aside.
I remember many years ago, I was at Tipitina's, that club in New Orleans. And the Neville brothers used to play. I'm going back when I was in high school.
Right.
And at the end of their concert, Aaron Neville would always step forward and a cappella do a version of Ave Maria. Well, this is 1 o'clock in the morning. Half the people are loaded.
Yeah.
Tears and audible crying from the audience. And I said, Aaron, I asked him years later, what's happening there? First of all, why are you doing that? And what's happening? He said, oh, Raymond, that's the God in me talking to the God in them.
That's right. Yeah.
That's really what this seems to me. Why did the blues resonate so deeply with you? Why does it still resonate?
Well, to me, because the number one requirement to play blues authentically is to be able to play it from your heart, right? Like with that kind of feeling. And I think that's why I was drawn to it even when I was a kid. I couldn't relate necessarily to the lyrics, even if it was, I hadn't been in a relationship, I hadn't had a woman do me wrong, I hadn't had some of the other experiences outside of relationships that these people were singing about, but I could feel the emotion that they were portraying in the music.
Yeah, I mean, at 13, you're invited on stage. Was it Brian? Was it Brian Lee?
Yeah.
Brian Lee, who's a New Orleans blues man.
Yeah.
Invites you on stage. You're at a Shreveport Arts Festival.
That was later.
Oh, that was later. That was later. Okay.
Brian Lee was Bourbon Street, the old Absinthe House bar in New Orleans, 13 years old, first time ever on stage.
And what was that like?
Well, it was a turning point for me because I was really shy. Even after I put my band together and stuff, I used to have long blonde hair and I would kind of hide behind my hair. And but Brian, that was the first time I really got to perform in front of people. And I remember thinking to myself that this is either going to go really well or it's going to go horribly wrong. And if it does, I'm never going to do this again, like ever. And so I got up there, I did my 2 songs, had my hair behind my hair, and he said 2 songs and then, you got to get out. This is my show, kid. But I did the 2 songs and then I went to get down and he was like, don't go anywhere. And he kept me up all night long. I played till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning with him. Wow. Got my first standing ovations.
How old are you?
13. Damn. And that was like, okay, maybe I can do something with this. And that was like it's a trajectory between. So 13, I did that. 14, I did my first demo recordings. 15, I formed my band. 16, I signed a major record contract.
But it was video. It was video of that Red River Revel. You're 13 years old playing. It was that video that got you the record contract.
Well, the Red River Revel was when I was 15 or 15.
Okay, you're older.
So I'd put my band together, started doing shows, and we filmed that shows in my hometown as an outdoor festival. Had a good crowd, but that was a tool that we used to send to record labels that were expressing some interest so that they could actually see, because rumors started flying all over the country about this kid from Louisiana playing blues music. Word was getting to New York, LA, everywhere. And we were getting phone calls and my dad was like, we need to film a show and we can send them this video. And so, yes, that's what eventually helped us.
And what did they see, Kenny? What do you think they saw in that video?
Well, it's interesting because, I'm my own worst critic. And so I look back and I've never felt like, I've come to realize that I've earned my place here and that I belong where I'm at. But I never thought of myself as being anyone special or anyone different than anybody else. I'm just a guy who loves music and loves to play guitar, right? So I was always kind of baffled that like people had the reaction that they had to me when I was playing music, because I'm like, I'm just a kid playing guitar. But I look back at that video and I go, well, what they saw was a 15 or 16-year-old kid playing guitar. In my opinion, at that time, maybe there wasn't a lot of people doing it at that level at that time, but there's a lot of, because of social media now, you can see everybody that plays guitar online. And there's a lot of like kids that are 16 now that I think are more advanced than I was then. But I don't know, there's a difference between like being able to play great and being a great player, because there's a lot of great players, and somebody that has the it factor, and that's what they're looking for. And somebody obviously saw that there was more to me than just a teenage guitar player.
Yeah, there's that Hendrix line about the blues. The blues are easy to play, but hard to feel.
Yeah, there's that. And then there's also like the songs. I mean, I was already playing original songs at that point. And so that's a huge thing. If you're going to get into business with a record company, you can't be a cover band.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have material that they think is marketable.
Well, Ledbetter Heights hits in 1995. When you listen to that now, what did the 17-year-old or 18-year-old Kenny not know?
Oh,
you know now.
I didn't know hardly anything, but I knew what I needed to know to get the job done.
Which was?
Which was I needed to play straight from the heart and communicate through my instrument. And I needed to be true to myself and play and record the music I felt inspired to play and record. So like Irving Azoff, who's one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry by far, he's the one that signed me to his record label personally, Giant Records, when he was running Giant Records. And he asked me at the time, because I didn't sing. My problem was I could play beyond my years, but when I opened my mouth and sang, I sounded like a kid.
Yeah.
And those things didn't match up for me. And I had standards that I heard from my music. So if my voice couldn't meet that standard, I was going to find somebody else who's could, right? So I remember him telling me when he was signing me, he was like, "Hey man, what kind of record are you going to make?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to go make a Kenny Wayne Shepard record, I guess. He goes, "Look," he goes, "I don't care if you make an all instrumental record, if you have a guy singing on it, like just go make the album you feel inspired to make." And he gave me permission to do that from day one. And I've done that my entire career. And not everybody has that luxury, because a lot of times people are making artists, they're trying to make them be who they think they should be. So I just followed my instinct, and I've been true to that my entire career, and thankfully it's brought us to this point.
Well, I mean, Trouble Is, which is 1997, the longest running Billboard blues chart topper for an album ever. You still hold that record. You go 7 singles in the top 10. You go back and re-record that album on the 25th anniversary. Why do that, Kenny?
Well, there's multiple reasons. First was to acknowledge the 25th anniversary of that album, because that was arguably our most mainstream successful record. Blue on Black, a massive hit.
Why did those songs hit? Blue on Black and Somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, you know, it's the right place at the right time, the right music. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, there's so many things that have to happen in order for you to be successful, for a song to reach its potential. And that song, I think, didn't reach its full potential, to be honest with you, because at the time, and I don't know anybody would argue with me about this, I don't think, but at the time, the record company they did a great job at rock radio, but I think they were kind of lacking in the top 40 department and trying to figure out how to get that song to cross over into the top 40. Had they been successful in doing that, it would have been even a bigger smash than it was. But it was a massive #1 hit for us. The second album did better than the first album. Though between the first 2 records, that built us the foundation of the fans that have now carried us going on 3 decades.
Incredible.
But we did the 25th anniversary Trouble Is record to, #1, acknowledge 25 years of this great music. #2, we did a very, very close recreation of the album.
Same guitar, same amp, same
everything.
room.
And we had all the same guys, with the exception of one player. So same crew, everything, right? 25 years later. And it was cool because it was like, hey man, what was I, 18 or 19 when I did that? And we were all 25 years younger, but it was cool to show everybody we can rock just as hard today, 25 years later, as we did back then. And then also there's a business case for it, because we own this version of it, you know, because ownership.
It was Kenny's version.
Yeah, and you know, we actually started recording that album and re-recording 2 of my, we're doing the Ledbetter Heights album as well. So that's going to come out next year for the 30th anniversary of that record. Cool. But we had started recording those before Taylor did her whole Taylor's version thing. But there's a real business case for that. I mean, it's kind of like unbelievable that in the music industry that people go to a record company, especially back then, because you don't have money. You don't have the money to make the record. Right. You don't have the connections to market it. You don't have the connections to get it on radio. A lot of that stuff isn't as relevant now as it was then. But you went to them because they had all these resources that you didn't have. But at the same time, they're giving you this money. They're loaning you the money, right? Because you have to pay it all back.
Right.
And they get like 97 cents out of every dollar made on a record, and you're paying it back like 3 cents at a time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they charge you back for every single thing that they do, every dollar they spend. Sometimes they charge you for stuff that they didn't do or overcharge you for it. You have to audit them.
Right.
But you pay it all back over time, right? And only then, after they've gotten all their money back, then you start to make a little bit of money. But at the end of the day, they still own.
They own the
record. You're not even a half owner, and without the music, they don't have anything, right? So you go. All they did was bankroll it. So it's like you go to the bank and you get a loan for a house, and then you pay the loan back, but the bank still owns your house.
Yeah.
Like it's unbelievable.
It would be like you write a show. I have a theater, and I now own the show because you performed at my theater.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So the least they could do. And like this is monumental change that needs to take place. But the least they could have done is say we're partners in this.
Right.
And so after you've paid it back, then we're 50-50, you know what I mean, or something.
Yeah, at some point the ownership reverts to you.
No, we get
all
of our money back, and we still own everything. And for perpetuity, you're going to make 3 cents on every dollar, or whatever. It's like,
well, this is why. Look, you hit before there was the social media possibilities and that direct distribution. All of that was unheard of when you started. We're in a different era now.
Yeah.
But it's harder for artists to break up. Don't you feel that?
Well, there's so many different things. Like I'm very grateful that I got in when I did, because I got to experience what I believe. I mean, call me a dinosaur, call me old or whatever. Well, I got in on the very end of what I think was the golden age of the radio industry, the recording industry. Like things were so different back then than they are now. Now, some of it has changed for the better. They put some power, technology's put some power in the hands of the artists. Like you don't need necessarily a record company to market yourself if you're savvy with social media. You can go viral on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of those things, and you can attract an audience of millions of people. And the challenge that you then face is a challenge that every artist faces, is how do you retain that audience? Because that's where the talent factor comes in. But you can get your name out there. You can grow a following without having to even... Now, they all want a lot of money now. Like social media is kind of a huge bait and switch thing to me. Like I don't really like it very much, because in the beginning they're like, come to our platform and accumulate a following. Right. And so you spend this time cultivating this following, and then I get it. They're in business to make money. But now it's like all of a sudden it's like we have 2 million people almost following us on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'll post something and you can see that it reaches 8,000, 5,000, 2,500 out of those 2 million people.
Right.
And if you want to reach any more of those people, they want you to pay for it.
Them. Yeah.
And so in that regard, in the early days of social media, it was a great tool, and they didn't choke you down trying to get a bunch of money out of you so you could really grow your fan base. Now it's all about the almighty dollar. So if you don't have a bunch of money to invest in boosting your posts and advertising with them, then you can't really reach a lot of people.
Punish you.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. There's these tools, the ability to record on a computer and a laptop. Yeah. I mean, Billie Eilish or whatever, her first album, they just recorded on a laptop in an apartment, and she's one of the biggest artists in recent time, right? Yeah. So you had to rent a studio before. You had to have the money to rent a studio to make a record. Now you can do it at home.
It's all open.
Yeah, so there's a lot more options available.
There's something I need to talk to you about. Early on in your career, you opened for the Stones, Bob Dylan, Van Halen. What did you pick up from them? I mean, these are the people, some of whom you listened to as a child. Yeah. And here you are opening with them, touring with them. Right. What was that like?
Well, it's incredible. I mean, part of it, I think the thing that worked to my advantage of being so young was maybe I was a little bit naive, or maybe it just didn't fully register. Yeah. You know, I've done a lot of like reflection in my life now, especially doing these anniversary albums and anniversary tours. And you go, wow, man, look at all this stuff that happened. And like, the reality kind of in hindsight, you can look back and you really put it in perspective. In the moment, like you're walking out on Wembley, the old Wembley Stadium, in front of 80,000 people opening up for the Eagles when they first got back together on the Hell Freezes Over tour, and you're like, wow, this is cool, but you're like, this is, I'm just gonna go play my guitar and hide behind my hair, you know what I mean? But you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, like how incredible. And so, I learned a lot about entertaining people. I learned how to play in these massive venues, and I learned how to play. I mean, I went from playing like, 200, 150, 200 people in clubs, doing 3 one-hour sets with 15-minute breaks in between for like $250 to opening up for the Eagles, 80,000 people a night in freaking soccer stadiums in Europe, all over Europe.
Incredible.
And everything in between. So it's the best practice any artist could ever get, is just actually doing it on stage in front of people.
But tell me, what did you have any interaction with them, with Dylan, with
all of them? So like incredible interactions. Like for example, one of my favorite stories, Joe Walsh and I met and became friends on that tour. And the first thing he said to me, I'm standing at the side of the stage, we're in Wembley Stadium, and I'm over there tuning my guitar, and Joe walks up to me and he goes, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm tuning my guitar. He goes, I haven't tuned a guitar in over 20 years. And he just walked away. And it was like, you just got to know him to know how funny that is, right? And he and I became friends, and we've been friends for decades now. And so I met, everybody except for Glenn Frey on that tour. Everyone came and said hello to me and sat, had a meal with me or whatever. Never met Glenn Frey.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but that's what happened. So like interesting experiences, like on Van Halen, we did the Van Halen 3 tour in the 90s, and then we did the very last Van Halen tour.
Oh, so you did both of them? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Ed and I became friends on the first tour. Our connection goes back even further than that, because my dad was responsible for Valerie Bertinelli meeting Eddie Van Halen at a concert in Shreveport. Yeah. And so he brought her to the show at the request of her father, because my dad was the radio guy, and he would always get passes and tickets. And so he took Valerie to see Van Halen for the first time in Shreveport, Louisiana, took her backstage and introduced her to Eddie Van Halen. And so,
and the rest is history.
Yeah, but he and I became friends. And Bob Dylan, like people.
Tell me about Bob. He's very reclusive.
So I'll give you that. Okay. But for me, what I've learned, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in life, and not just in music, but in life in general, is that I refuse to take on other people's issues and other people's resentments or other people's problems with people. Like, I'll take in the information, but I've learned so many times that just because somebody says that this person is this way, that doesn't mean that's going to be my experience. And so before I met Bob Dylan, you hear all these things. It's like, don't look at him, don't try and shake his hand. Like, you hear about him like climbing into trees and all this. I mean, just all these weird things, right? And everything that everybody ever told me about him was not my experience. Every single day. And I'm like 17, I did 2 tours with him, 17 and 19 years old. And every day he would show up early and watch me sound check every single day. And then we'd finish sound checking, and he'd come up on the stage and we'd come straight up to me, and he would shake my hand, and he would stand there and talk to me for like 20 minutes. And one night he came up, he was knocking on the door of the tour bus. I'm in the back lounge. My bus driver comes back and knocks on my door, and I'm like, yeah. And he goes, hey, Bob's outside. He wants to know if he can come up on the bus. I was like, Bob who? And he goes, Dylan. And I'm like, you're making him wait? Like, get him up. And he came up on the bus. He had a big old Great Dane dog with him, and he sat on the bus for like an hour and a half just hanging out. And at the end of the tour, he said, hey, I don't care if you have a new record out or if you're just working up new material, you can come out on the road with me anytime you want. And that was like contrary to every crazy story that I'd ever heard about him. Now, I'm not saying those people didn't have those experiences, but that was not my experience.
Did you pick up anything artistically from him?
Well, I got to sit in with him every night. I got to play all along the Watchtower with him. So I was doing all the Jimi Hendrix version stuff with him singing it in his way of doing it. That was cool. I mean, Bob's an inspiration. I mean, a lyrical genius, absolute powerhouse. I mean, you can't listen to his music and not pick something up from that.
I love that you love the tradition that you stand upon and the foundation of all of that. One of my favorite projects that you ever did was 10 Days Out, Blues from the Back Roads. And
Right.
it was you in 2007. And you went with a film crew and a recording kit, and you went to these great blues masters in their home spaces.
Yeah.
And you interviewed them and you recorded with them.
Yep.
Tell me, first of all, why did you do that? And looking back on that, I see you sitting on the couch with B.B. King. I watched it last week. You can see you're just in awe of this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. It's like sitting with
royalty.
royalty.
King of the blues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, for me, it was about my love and appreciation for the genre and for these artists. And also, I had kind of noticed that I've been given a lot of opportunities, and blues music has kind of been my platform that I've built my music off of. It's the foundation of everything. And in every genre, Nashville's a perfect example. Yeah. You can walk up and down Broadway here, and you can see incredibly talented musicians playing every single night of the week, all day. And they got a lot of talent. They sound really good, but they may not ever be known to the rest of the world. You know what I mean? And it's not their fault. It's just kind of like, I don't know who gets to decide how it all works out.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work out the same for everybody. And so I'm aware of that, and there's these really talented blues musicians that I've admired, and I'm like, more people need to know about these people. And it's kind of the Bobby Rush thing too. I'm like, I want to turn my fans on to people like Bobby Rush so that they can enjoy the music that they might not be aware of.
That all the pop music is predicated on.
Yeah.
I mean, R&B, rap, country, it all finds its real root in the blues.
If you do your homework and you go backwards from whatever's happening right now and you connect the dots, you go, whoever it is, you go, who inspired them? Who inspired them? Who inspired them? Who inspired them? You're going to find your way back to blues music at some point, Blues and country for sure, which are kind of like,
we were born around the same time, So really, it's the same region.
Yeah, blues, country, and jazz is like the trifecta, and everything comes from that, you know. And that's American music,
Do you feel an obligation to carry that tradition forward?
Well, what I feel like is my responsibility, and not everybody feels this way, but it's the example I was given, is that I feel obligated to give credit where credit is due. So I didn't invent this. None of us have invented any of this, right? Everybody's music that they are inspired to create has been inspired by something someone else did before them. And my obligation, I believe, is not to sit here and pretend like I invented something, but instead to the people who look to me and appreciate what I do, to say, hey, but did you hear about this guy? Have you heard this woman's music? Have you heard this artist, this band? Because this got me fired up, and that's what inspired me to do this. So turn them on to that. And people like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix and all those guys, they did that as well.
Yeah,
and then that helped me go back and research and discover so many more artists, because it opened my eyes to this entire new world of artists.
What do you say to young artists who say, I don't want all that old stuff. I got my own, I got to express myself for today.
Right.
I've got songs for today, not that old stuff. You would say what?
Well, but I would say that, first of all, you don't have anything that you're doing without the old stuff. That's how you got to this point, so that you could make that music. But it's just like anything. It's like knowing your history. It's like knowing where all of this comes from, then makes you a much more well-rounded artist, and it will actually give you the ability to have more depth to what you're doing. If you're trying to start right here moving forward, there's no depth behind it. There's no substance behind it.
Yeah. It seems to me, when you know where you came from, when you know the foundations of this,
right.
First of all, you know what's already been done, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can help build upon that.
Yeah.
I mean, Edison, he didn't create the light bulb.
Right.
He figured out the right fiber, and he built on all the failures of the past. He was smart enough to recognize the failures and what worked, and then build upon that. For some reason, in the arts today, in media, we just discard all of it. And I love that you've taken the time in your career, while writing new material that infuses rock and country into all of your work. You stop on Going Home, which was you in Shreveport doing traditional blues music.
Right.
Is that in any way tied, I'm going to get personal, is that in any way tied to your faith? To that idea of, we stand on this tradition?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think everything that I do everything that I do in my life, the way I choose to live my life, is to try and stand firmly within my faith and my values that I learned from my faith, right? And we can get off into a whole nother conversation that's not even musically related, but about religion and things like that. But to me, it's principles I learned in another program, principles before personalities. What are the principles that we're being taught? And are they good? And are they well-intentioned? And do they actually, in fact, make us better people if we follow them? And so I try to implement that to the best of my abilities, knowing that I'm not perfect, I'm not a saint, I'm flawed, I'm gonna fall short, but to the best of my abilities at any given time, right? And so with my music, yes, I mean, the foundations of my faith are in everything that I do. It's my approach to my career, it's my approach to my family, it's my approach to my personal life, my friend life, my interactions with the everyday guy. Like today, I had people coming over helping me out with stuff in my lawn, and this is I'm in my home.
And I demanded you come over here, so I'm sorry to destroy the day.
I should have worn the whole musician getup.
Next time I'm going to get you on the road because I want the hat, the big brim hat. I've seen you 100 times with the hat and the coat. I want the whole routine. I like this, Kenny, though. This is nice to see.
Well, but this is, and I think that people, at the end of the day, man, it's like do unto others, But yes, absolutely. I mean, I feel like I don't let my ego get the best of me. I don't let my pride overwhelm my decision-making process. Is like, stay humbled, appreciate what you've been given, not what you have. I didn't manifest this. I didn't create all of this.
Yeah.
I put in the work.
Yeah, but it's a gift.
I didn't do it all myself. And so, yes, I mean, I feel like creating music, my intention every single night that I walk out on stage and every time I go into the studio is my prayer is that I bring light into people's lives through the gift of music that has been that I've been blessed with, and that I'm a conduit for God to show people through me his power and his love and all of that stuff. And so, and when people message me and they say, I saw your show, and they're like, God truly has blessed you, then I'm like, oh, that happened. That exchange, I was able to do that. And I'm not out there like, I'm not trying to, I've learned to be, it's another phrase from another program, but it's like attraction, not promotion. Yeah. So I'm not the kind of guy that's going around trying to beat everybody over the head with my belief system or trying to convert them to think the way I think. I feel like I just need to live my life in a manner in which, hopefully people might notice something positive that they're curious about, and that opens up a line of communication, and then we can have a conversation.
You're the father of 6 children.
Yeah.
A convert to Catholicism. Did that change and deepen your work in any way?
Well, it changed.
Both of those things.
Well, yeah. Well, having a family and 6 children.
That'll wake you up fast.
Well, it provides an entirely new sense of motivation and inspiration, because I want to make my kids proud. Yeah. I want to, when you're in a position like this, you can leave behind a lot. You can leave behind a lot of wreckage, or you can leave behind a legacy, or you can leave a little bit of both. But my intention is to leave at least just the impression that through my music that people felt something and I had a positive impact on their lives, and therefore my kids can be proud of that. And I can show my kids what hard work and dedication looks like, and what the payoff for that is. And still, even 30 years into my career, I set goals and I tell them, this is what I want to accomplish this year. And then hopefully they can see me work hard and see that come to pass, and then inspire them in those ways, right? So that's a new, and then, my Catholic faith, it was just, that was just an interesting experience because I grew up Methodist. And I just remember being a little kid and like seeing people do the sign of the cross, and I was like, I was talking to my grandma like, how come we don't do that? Why don't we do that? Why can't we do that? And I just,
and hanging around New Orleans, you saw a lot of that.
Yeah, and everybody has their own kind of way. Like, I'm just the guy that I like to, like I said, I just try to be as good of a person as I can be. I try and just live my life, hopefully in some way that if somebody feels compelled, they go, hey, what's going on? Like, how are you doing this? How are you managing this? Like, if they can see me operate in turmoil or whatever, like in a flurry of activity, and be focused and centered and still coming from the right place and not get frazzled by everything. And it's like, wow, how did you do that? Well, because I seek a contact with the power greater than myself, and I seek guidance from that, and I try and channel that and know that, like, I'm not responsible for everything.
Right.
And that's actually like to be powerless and to let go and to realize that I'm not responsible for making everything happen is a huge relief. But I am responsible for doing what I'm capable of doing and seeking that guidance and then trying to implement that so that then the end result can be accomplished. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's another just being the conduit.
I always say, Kenny, all the mistakes are mine.
Right. Well, that's true.
The rest belongs to God or somebody else. In fact, I love the 2 albums you did, Dirt and My Diamonds. I always thought, that's my soul.
Yeah.
Dirt and My Diamonds. It's a perfect. I love those 2 albums, by the way.
Yeah.
Before I let you go and move on to my Arroyo Grande questionnaire, which I ask everybody.
Okay.
I love the fact that you record live in studio.
Yeah.
You like to be in studio with everybody.
Absolutely.
Why do you do that? Why is that important as opposed to getting it just perfect, this section, and then recording to a track?
Because I believe that there is a tangible difference that can be heard and can also be felt when you have a band playing together versus people emailing files back and forth to each other across the country that never sit down in the room together. And the other thing about that is you eliminate, when you do it like that, you have now eliminated all possibility for anything spontaneous to happen, right? So whoever the first guy is that sits down in front of the computer and puts the click track down and plays the guitar, keys, whatever the first instrument is, this is the arrangement. This is how the song's gonna go from start to finish.
There's no deviation.
When you're in this, and everybody has to follow that.
Yeah.
When you're in the studio, and people are like, what about this? And what about this part? And what if you play it like this? Or like, how about a different ending? And it's like, and then it's a group effort and it's a team sport.
Yeah.
Playing music is a team sport.
It's souls and hearts and it's people communicating.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I've always loved about the blues and your particular take on it, you can hear the communication. You can hear that it particularly when you're vibing with somebody, it's like they're talking back and forth to each other, which is what great music should be. Yeah. And there's something about the blues and jazz that facilitates that in a way that other genres don't.
Right.
And I love that. You've preserved that. And tipped your hat to the past, venerated it, carried it forward, and you're doing your own exploration with it, which is incredible. Okay, the Arroyo Grande questionnaire. I ask this of everybody. You ready? These are quick answers, then I'll get you back to the gardening.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Who is the person you most admire?
Wow. You say quick answers.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's so many. I've had a lot of great people in my life, and I admire them in many different ways.
Okay.
I'm gonna say this. It might come across as cheesy, but I admire my wife. Like, I really admire her.
Why?
Well, because she's a fascinating individual. She's so multifaceted, and but she's just. You know what's amazing about relationships is that in a good, healthy, I believe, relationship, she excels where I fall short. And I excel where she falls short. And so it creates this balance. Yeah. But in the areas that she excels in that I don't, I'm just totally fascinated by her. But she's an incredible mother. She's an incredible individual. I've never seen a more good-natured person, you know. Yeah. And it speaks to her upbringing and her family and, you know, as to who she is, that all had an influence. And then it's also, now your family can give you what they can give you, but it's up to you what you do with it. Yeah. And she's an incredible person.
She's a great lady. I've known her. I knew her just before you were married.
Yeah.
I met her a long time ago. Who do you despise?
I don't despise anybody. I really don't. Like, ever since I was a kid, the word hate, and I feel like that's pretty similar territory. Yep. It just never resonated with me. It always felt offensive to me. So the only thing I would say that I really don't like is I don't like people that aren't independent thinkers, that can't. I think in the world we live in today that is incredibly controversial and divided and all of that stuff, and it's like everybody's forcing you to be on one side or the other. I think everyone's doing themselves a disservice by not actually taking in all the information, by just taking in one source or, you know, one point of view and neglecting the other. You know, it's like, take it all in, understand that there's objectives, like people are trying to make you think things, right? By the way they're delivering that to you is they want to persuade you. Know that, listen to this, put it all together and to find the truth in the middle and then make a decision based on that. This, it's like, I want people to use their brains. And I'm not saying, it might sound offensive. Some people might say, well, of course I use my brain. But I don't think everybody takes in all the information without the bias. It tries to put the bias aside.
Well, critical thinking and reason they've become sinful, and they're not.
Yeah.
We're built this way. We're supposed to critically evaluate.
Here's the other thing, is like, how can, if everybody's on the same page all the time, then where's the innovation? Where's the creativity? Where's the individuality? Those are you've eliminated that. If everybody is just in lockstep with one another.
The same mindset.
There is no progress.
It's the click track of life with no room for improvisation.
Right.
It's really what you were talking about.
And that's
before.
convenient for some people who want everybody to be that way. But I think, we're individuals. Let's act like individuals.
It's a really boring way to live.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
And so and just stop with all the hate. It's just horrific.
What's your best feature?
My best, I don't know, is it my chin, my jaw?
It could be.
It's, well, it used to be when I was a kid, it was like everybody loved my long blonde hair.
Those long locks.
I'm well into middle age now, so that's not what it once was. I don't know. I don't really know. Probably just my ability to play guitar. That's what I'm most known for.
What do you know, Kenny, that others don't know?
I think I have some insights because of my life that maybe most people don't have. Like, what is it like to be a child prodigy? What is it like to be a child star? That experience, and everything that comes along with that. I think I probably have some insight on that kind of stuff and the challenges and the struggles that come with it.
Would you advance or want your own child to be a child star?
I would. So let's put it this way. All of my kids are musical. They're all incredibly intelligent. They're all very talented people. But I'm not going to try and persuade any of them. I just want them to be their own people. I also do think there's this thing where it's like when you have a famous father or something, the inclination is to not go down that path because you maybe feel like you can't.
You're living in the shadow of that.
But I look at my kids and I'm like, you guys could be better than me. You know what I mean? If you just tried. So I do have several of my kids play guitar, and one of my daughters, they're all doing different things. I have a daughter that's playing drums.
Wow.
I have another daughter that's doing keyboards. I have one that's doing keyboards and vocal.
You've got the Shepard band you're building. I know what you're doing. You're building the Shepard family band.
But when I was a kid, I would come home from school and I would grab my guitar, and that's all I would do until I went to bed, and then rinse and repeat. So I don't know if any of them have taken it to that point yet.
Yeah.
But the path is different for everyone.
Yeah.
And you never know what's going to happen. So if they want to make a career in music, I absolutely support that. If they want to do something completely different, has nothing to do with music, I support that as well. I just want them to follow their passion and see if they can to make a career doing something that they love to do.
And be who they were meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And realize their potential. What do you fear?
I pray. Death is still something I'm trying to come to terms. I think if most of us are being honest, we still grapple with that concept. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not worried," but I don't know, man. You might just be saying that. And it's like even with my faith, I believe. I had a moment in my life, and I really didn't intend to get off in spiritual things.
No, this is good.
But I've been taught through my faith, even growing up Methodist or whatever, that, the spirit is eternal, there's the life everlasting.
Right.
And you believe it, but you have to really believe it. Some of that's faith. And faith just means you have to believe. But there was a moment where I started feeling my age, and it was
It comes for all of us, Kenny.
But this was a real moment of clarity for me, because I woke up one day. I don't remember what I was doing. I just
yourself?
I just literally yesterday had a cortisone shot in my back. That's getting old.
You're going to have to give me the doctor's name, because guess what?
Oh my gosh.
I went to brush my teeth this morning. Oh.
Yeah, so I don't remember what it was I was doing, but I was trying to do something physically that just should come naturally. And it was a struggle, or I couldn't do it, or I hurt myself doing it. And all of a sudden in that moment, I felt the disconnection between who I am inside. Most people would say up here.
Yeah.
But I believe it's all connected.
Yeah.
But they would say, well, I feel like everybody says, oh, I feel like I'm 17. I feel like I'm 25.
25 years old.
But your body's not, right?
Yeah.
And I felt in real time the disconnect between my body and my spirit. And I thought, this thing is not 25 or 18 or whatever, but I feel that I should be able to do those things. So these things are developing at different rates, right? And so that's the real, like, I was like, oh, this is, my spirit is not aging. What it is I'm advancing through wisdom, through acquired experience and knowledge. Right. Which I think is kind of the big point here, is our experience.
The duality.
You know?
As the experience and wisdom grows, the body doesn't. It decays.
And so the body's going one way, the spirit's going another way, and there's that detachment that it inevitably ends up happening when you die. But that was a moment that I felt, see, I sometimes need tangible things that I can touch and feel, you know, to believe it. And that was real. And I was like, oh, inside, I feel like this, but outside, I feel like this.
And you still fear death.
Well, yes, because the experience of it. It's the experience.
That's what it is.
Maybe not even like the pain of it. It's like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'd love to die in my sleep. It's like, yeah, that's great because it's comfortable. But like, but if you had no fair warning, if you didn't, like, sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of suffering that happens. Like, people get sick and they know, oh, you have a certain amount of time, and that's sad and takes a whole nother toll.
Heartbreaking.
But maybe it's a blessing in the sense that you get an opportunity to prepare for it, you know? So I don't know. The whole thing is so complicated. The idea when I was a kid that we're born so we can die was just felt like so big of a concept to like wrap my mind around. So it's still something that it's like, it feels overwhelming. But my prayer is that I live long enough to, like, remember my grandmother she was ready to die, you know? And
that happens a lot with older people.
Right. And so I don't know if, you know, whatever it is, maybe it's an age thing. Maybe it's the cards you're dealt. Maybe you're not 70 or 80 or 90 years old. I mean, because Bobby Rush is still hitting on all cylinders.
He's like he's 30 years old. I mean, when he's playing with it, he's unbelievable.
Right. So maybe it's not an age thing, but whatever life cards I'm dealt, is that when my time comes that I'm able to live long enough to get to the point to be ready for it and accepting of it, you know? Yeah. And I know I'm not at that point yet. So I know my time's not up.
You're getting there.
You know?
What's your greatest virtue?
I think my nature, just the nature that I've been raised a certain way, you know, salt of the earth people. We didn't have money growing up, like no money. Yeah. And so there was not money in my family until I signed my record deal. And so, you know, just like to know that like I'm not any different. I don't treat people any different. Do unto others, just follow the golden rules as much as I can, which I think, you know, makes you a good-natured person. And I've tried to implement that.
You feel that in your work too. What's your biggest regret?
Well, I honestly don't have regrets, because I do believe that every decision, mistake or not, is what develops you into who you are today. Now, we can meet again in about 20 years or something, or 30 years, and you can ask me that question again, and maybe
you and Paul Anka might have a few.
Maybe there might be a few. But at this point, I mean, there's things that maybe I would have done differently, but why would I do them differently?
Right.
Is it because I want to control the outcome? Because I want to change it and make it the way I think it should be? Because I've learned in my relationship with God is that a lot of times God's answer to my prayers and my questions and the things that I want isn't always necessarily no. It's either not right now, or I have something better or different, which ends up being better.
Yes.
And so it's like, do I want to go change those decisions because I want a different outcome? Because then that doesn't net me the life that I have. No. That doesn't give me my wife and my beautiful 6 kids and the career in the way that it is today and the happiness that I do experience.
No, that's a wise way of looking at it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Well, to me, it was Stevie Ray Vaughan when he signed my first Stratocaster. The last time I saw him before he passed away, he signed my very first Strat for me. And he said, Kenny, just play it with all your heart. And that's been everything from that day forward. Every time I pick up my instrument, I try and play it with all my heart. And I feel like professionally, it's the best advice I got, because that's what's gotten me here.
What happens when this is over, Kenny? Your decision. I'm letting you interpret it. This interview, this life, this week, this year. When this is over, Kenny, what happens?
Well, when the interview's over, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to do a little more yard work.
No, you're not. It's raining. I'm looking at the rain. You're missing it. It's raining. You're not doing yard work at all.
Then what else are you going to do? Then I'm going to go change clothes, right? And be of service to my family.
That's a good thing.
The end of this year, I don't know. I mean, we'll begin next year, and we'll begin the 30th anniversary of my first album.
And you're going on a big tour, European tour, and where are you going in Europe?
So all over. We're going to Germany, Switzerland, France, Italy, UK, all the hot spots. And then September is the 30-year anniversary of Ledbetter Heights, my first album. We re-recorded a new version of that record, which is actually less of a recreation, more of a reinterpretation of some of the songs. And so that
anything new there? You had a new Dylan song on the.
No, we didn't do any.
No hidden tracks.
No,
okay.
but we did kind of reimagine a few of the songs, so they sound different. I mean, they sound different because I had a different singer on the first album. Yes. Noah joined me on the second album and has been with me ever since. And
tell that story quickly. He was thrust. You didn't have any time to prep with him.
Yeah. So the first album, the first guy, Corey Sterling, it just didn't work, No. And we had to. And it actually didn't end all that great because we were supposed to be flying out. We met at the airport to fly out to start recording the Trouble Is record, and he just never showed up. And there's a whole series of events that led up to that. But so then we're like, okay, well, this doesn't work.
What are we gonna do?
We have to make a change. So then we started looking, and within, I want to say it's 2 weeks, 4 at the most, we had auditioned like 12 to 14 different people. We found Noah, and we were in the studio making the record. Noah's been with me now, I guess 27, 28 years. Yeah. And then I eventually progressed into going from just kind of singing background vocals to singing lead vocals, and now we both sing lead vocals. We share about 50-50. Yeah. But it's been an incredible experience. But doing the Ledbetter Heights 30th anniversary album, we never could completely recreate it because the voice you're going to hear on it is not going to be the same. So that immediately gave me this liberty to kind of not have to put it under a microscope and try and match it. And so we decided to change, like Aberdeen and Riverside and a few of these other songs where we interpreted, we played them differently. We added some different instrumentation, did a different arrangement, and made it more interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. Kenny Wayne Shepard, I can't thank you enough. This has been a joy.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you for the time. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, here's the whole. Knowing your history is crucial no matter what you do. I think we disregard or ignore the past to our detriment in so many facets of life today. The arts, manners, basic living. Look, centuries of people preceded us, and their wisdom, often hard-earned, is needed, and it's very valuable. I love that Kenny Wayne not only recognizes that, but is preserving it and taking it to a new generation of audiences. And what he told me about the prayer he says before he goes on stage, that's something I think all of us can use no matter what we do. Let me bring light into people's lives through the gift that I have, whether it be teaching or cooking or building or music, whatever your calling is. And Kenny Wayne Shepard's Young Fashioned Ways is an incredible blues album. Go pick it up. I hope you'll come back to Arroyo Grande soon. Why live a dry, constricted life when if you fill it with good things, it can flow into a broad, thriving Arroyo Grande? I'm Raymond Arroyo. Make sure you subscribe, like this episode. Thank you for diving in, and come back. We've got much more for you. See you next time. Arroyo Grande is produced in partnership with iHeart Podcasts and Divine Providence Studios, and it's available on the iHeart Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts.